Your mind is not on your side. It sounds harsh, but if you're being honest, you felt this before. That voice in your head that won't shut up. The one that overthinks everything, replays old conversations, imagines worst-case scenarios like they're guaranteed to happen. The one that tells you to start, and then 5 minutes later tells you it's pointless. And the worst part is, it sounds like you. So you trust it. You sit there trying to focus, trying to improve your life, trying to move forward, but your own thoughts keep pulling you back. You open your phone for a second break and suddenly an hour is gone. You plan your day, but your brain quietly whispers, you'll probably mess it up anyway. You want discipline, but your mind negotiates with you like a lawyer defending your bad habits. Just one more day. Start tomorrow. You're too tired. And somehow, it always wins. You're not lazy. You're not weak. You're just listening to something that was never built to make you happy. That's the part no one really explains. Your mind is not designed to help you succeed in modern life. It's designed to protect you, to keep you safe, to avoid risk, to conserve energy. And thousands of years ago that worked perfectly. Back then, overthinking could save your life. Doubt could keep you from danger. Fear meant survival. But today, there's no tiger chasing you. There's just your goals, your responsibilities, your potential. And your mind treats all of them like threats. That's why every time you try to do something meaningful, it feels uncomfortable. That's why starting is so hard. That's why you feel resistance even when you know exactly what you should do. Because your mind isn't asking, will this make my life better? It's asking, is this safe? And growth is never safe. Think about it. Every time you try to change your routine, your mind pushes back. Every time you step out of your comfort zone, it floods you with doubt. Not because you're incapable, but because your brain is trying to keep things predictable. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar success. So it keeps you stuck. It replays your past mistakes to remind you not to try again. It exaggerates your fears to make staying the same feel like the smarter choice. It tells you stories, convincing ones, logical ones, but not necessarily true ones. You're not ready. You're not good enough. Other people have it easier. And slowly, without realizing it, you start building your life around these thoughts. You hesitate more. You avoid more. You settle more, not because you want to, but because your mind made it feel reasonable. That's the trap. Because once you believe every thought you have, you lose control. Here's the shift that changes everything. Your mind is a tool, not a leader. It produces thoughts automatically, constantly, endlessly. But just because a thought appears, doesn't mean it deserves your attention. It doesn't mean it's true. And it definitely doesn't mean you have to act on it. Right now your mind is like a loud passenger in your car, grabbing the steering wheel whenever it feels like it, telling you where to go, telling you to stop, telling you to turn back. And you've been letting it drive. No wonder you feel lost. The moment you realize you can take that control back, everything starts to change. Not overnight. Not perfectly. But gradually. It starts with something simple. You notice the voice. Instead of instantly reacting to every thought, you pause. You create a small gap between the thought and your response. Your mind says, skip it today. And instead of obeying, you notice it. That's it. Just noticing. Because the moment you observe a thought, instead of becoming it, you weaken its control. You start to see patterns. The same excuses. The same fears, the same loops playing over and over again like a broken record. And once you see it clearly, it loses its power. You realize, this isn't truth. It's just noise. From there, you don't need to fight your mind. Fighting it only makes it louder. You don't need to silence it either. That's impossible. You just stop taking it so seriously. You let it talk, while you keep moving. Your mind says, this is uncomfortable. And you reply, I know, but I'm doing it anyway. Your mind says, what if you fail? And you answer, then I'll deal with it. Your mind says, you're not ready. And you respond, I don't need to be. That's how you win. Not by eliminating the voice, but by refusing to let it decide your actions. Because action is where your real power is. You don't need to feel motivated to start. You don't need to feel confident. You don't even need to feel ready. You just need to act, despite the noise. And the more you do that, the quieter your mind becomes. Not because it disappears, but because you've stopped feeding it control. At first it will resist. It will get louder, more convincing, more emotional. It might even feel worse before it gets better. That's normal. Because for the first time, you're not listening. You're choosing. And choice is something your mind can't control. This is where discipline is built. Not in moments of motivation, but in moments of resistance. When your mind is telling you to quit, and you keep going anyway. That's the turning point. Not a big dramatic breakthrough, but small quiet decisions. Waking up when you don't feel like it. Doing the work when it's boring. Saying no when it's easier to say yes. It doesn't feel powerful in the moment. But over time, it changes everything. Because you stop being controlled by how you feel, and start being guided by what you choose. And slowly something shifts inside you. You start trusting yourself more than your thoughts. You realize you can feel doubt, and still move forward. You can feel fear, and still take action. You can feel unmotivated, and still show up. That's real strength. Not controlling your mind, but not being controlled by it. Because your mind will always have something to say. It will always find problems. Always create stories. Always try to pull you back into comfort. That doesn't mean you have to follow. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who decides what to do with them. And once that clicks, really clicks, your entire life starts to change. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop overanalyzing every step. You stop asking your mind for permission to live your life. You just move. Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but intentionally. And that's enough. Because the truth is, your mind was never meant to be your friend. But it can become something better. A tool. A guide. A voice you hear, but don't blindly follow. And the moment you take back control from it, is the moment you finally start taking control of your life.